Hello everyone. Let's start today's lecture. In this lecture, you will be learning about decay of current. Prior to this, there was a lecture in which you have understood how the current grows. So, growth of current and decay of current, they are characteristics for LR circuit or RL circuit. Now, let's understand what the circuit says. This circuit says this is a battery. This battery is connected with this L inductor, that's resistance R. This is also part of network. This is S for switch is connected to one point, so that means this circuit is active. And in this circuit you will find this is a LR circuit, and which is basically a growth of current, you can say. And let's say this connection has been since long, so let me write that important point. It says switch is connected to switch S is connected to point 1 since long time. That simply says this current has reached to the steady state condition, and one current will be flowing through this like this. And what is that current? That current is going to, let's call it as I naught, because we know this is saturation current or final current. Can we say this I naught is going to be equal to the current in the circuit is going to be equal to V by R. From where we are able to write this is using the concept of growth of current, and ultimately the current becomes V by R. So there's a current that is running. Anyway, that means I naught is known to us. Now then we will start observing this, and in new observation we will be shifting the switch from 1 to 2. If we shift this switch here to here, and then onwards we are measuring the time. So let me write over here, let at t equal to 0, switch is shifted, and this is being shifted from 1 to 2, from point 1 to 2. Now when you shift it from one point to another point 2, then you will get a circuit in which this battery will not be active anymore. And what will be the active elements? L at R. This will be the part of the circuit. So let me draw that circuit. In that circuit you will find this kind of stuff. This is going to be inductor, and this inductor is now connected with resistance. Only this part is there. This is L, this is R. Now since you have removed this battery, no current is going to come from this battery, right? But you will find this is the inductor's property, that inductor opposes the current. As you shift this switch from one point to another point, the current through the battery or from the battery cuts. And there was a current I naught which was going through this. So what the inductor will do, inductor will oppose this current I naught, which is going to reduce. So its a reduction will be opposed. And you know how we can oppose this decrease of this current? By supplying another current, induced current in this direction. That means this inductor will behave just like a battery in this way, and it will create induced current so that its decrease is opposed. Makes sense? So you'll find this will be behaving like a battery. So this will drive a current for a moment or for some time. So you will find this current will decrease, but decrease over the time, not instantaneously. That means as soon as you change the switch from one point to another, the current in the inductor will not be zero immediately. It will be getting zero over the time. That means it will be decaying. So that's why the heading is decay of current. And that's what we need to learn, how that current decays once the battery is cut off. Okay, and let's say the time that has gone to t, and at that moment there is a certain current I flowing. It is decreasing, but still it is flowing in this circuit. And this is being driven by this inductor property, that it opposes the change. It's a changing current, and which is decreasing. Now we can write the Kirchhoff equation for this particular loop. So let's write Kirchhoff's voltage law. What the Kirchhoff's voltage law going to tell us? It will tell us L di by dt, the rate at which the current decreases, plus IR, the current through the resistance. This must be 0. Again, this is a mathematical equation, linear equation current. From here we can find the current as a function of time. That's our purpose. That means we would like to know how the current is decreasing in this circuit over the time when the battery has been removed. Now let's go ahead and try to simplify this. This simplification will be like this: di, you can take another term other side. If you take other side and you can divide it back over here, then this is going to be equal to minus r by L into dt. So we can write the same stuff like this. Same stuff can be written in this manner. Once you are able to write it, then next point is going to go integration from zero time. When it was the 0 time, so then the steady current was flowing. That means maximum current was flowing. So that current is going to be I naught. When later on, let's say time becomes t, so the current becomes I. This is how we are going to integrate it. Then after you solve this integration ln, then put the limit and everything, you will find ln I, then ln I upon ln I minus ln I naught. If I write directly, it becomes ln I upon ln I naught. In this left hand side, and on right hand side, you're going to get is RT by L. RT by L. And if you want to write from here the current, you will find the current expression comes out to be I is equal to I naught e raised to power minus RT by L. This is the expression that let us know the rate, the way the current decreases on this circuit. The current decreases on this circuit, but it decreases exponentially like this. And if you place t equal to 0 in this expression, you'll find current will be I is equal to I naught, because e raised to power 0 becomes 1. If you place t is very large enough, then you find e raised to power minus infinity becomes 0. Ultimately, current will decay to 0. Making sense? And this I naught is a max current, which is initial current, you can call it. So this is the expression for decay of current in LR circuit. Now, if you want to plot it this in I versus t graph, we can plot it when time was 0. That means when the switch was shifted. That means when the battery was disconnected. When the battery was disconnected, what will be the current in the circuit? You'll find when the battery was disconnected, the current was this I naught. That means the same current. You see, even the battery has been removed, still you'll find the same current runs through the circuit. This is what the property of inductor is, because it is opposing any change in the current. But it will not be same for all the time. It will be decaying, but it will be decaying exponentially like this. It will decrease. It will be rapidly decreasing, and over the time it will become 0. So let me show this, that this time of decays to in this way. So it's going to be exponential decay. Moreover, there's going to be a time constant. You know that time constant tau. If you place this tau value over here, tau is basically L by R. That's called time constant. So if you place this time constant over there, so it's become e raised to power minus 1. That's 1 upon e. That is 0.37. That means what amount it is going to be left over? It will be 0.37 I naught. That means within one time constant, 63% will be decreasing. So current decreases from here to here. That means 63% is decreasing and 37% is remaining in one time constant. And over the time it will become 0 over long time, right? So this is the decay of current. Now let me give you a practical example where you can link it with. Let's say you must have observed, like whenever you switch off your tube lights, if there's a tube light glowing and you switch it off. Once you switch it off, you will not find that immediately it becomes off. It still gives brightness and slowly it decays down. Slowly it decays down. Unlike in the case of this bulb, simple bulb that we used to have. So because in that simple bulb, this inductance used to be very little, in the tube lights, you will find that there is an inductor deliberately placed in. So that inductor, what that inductor does, when you switch off, that means you have off the power. And once you off the power, then still there will be current running in the in that device, and that device is functioning, but its brightness is getting down because the current is dropping. And after a certain time, you'll find there will be no brightness coming at all. right? So this basically makes gradual changes in the current that you supply. That means change in the current. Now, these inductors are very, very important in all the devices nowadays that we have, whether it's your TV or any electronic device that you can think of, even in the mobile phones. What happens, let's say you are charging your mobile phone. So suddenly you are providing a current to the circuit. And you can think of that because of this miniaturization, these devices are very, very small, right? And if you allow more current to go in, suddenly you'll find many of the parts will get damaged immediately. Now what this inductor does, so what we do, we replace that inductor. What this inductor does, if you even if you are supplying any current, or you can say even if you are connected to with any potential source, current always grow gradual. It starts this in this manner. The growth of current, if you will see, growth was current, like it's not suddenly. Let's say you are supplying this I naught current. So if there is not inductor, suddenly I naught current will be supplied to the device, which will definitely damage many portions of the device. So how the current grows in that circuit is starting from 0, 0, 0. It takes like time and reaches to that maximum value, right? So that those parts of the device are not damaged, and slowly the current is reaching to the maximum value. So it's not a sudden jump, it's a gradual, it's exponential jump, but not the sudden. Right? That's what the inductor does for charging or growing the current. When you switch off any device, again you'll find this will be gradually reducing to zero. So basically what this inductor does in any device, it makes the this change in the current more continuous and more gradual as compared to sudden one. If you don't have inductor, you'll find these devices nowadays that you have miniaturized devices won't work properly, because whenever you charge or whenever they're discharging or you make them off, they can cause so many damages. So inductors are very, very important for us, and you need to know this theoretically, what the expression for current is to decrease, what is the expression for the current is to grow, and you might be asked what happens after one time constant, and for growth purpose as well as for decay purpose. So if you know all these results, then you can solve the questions. So let's take one example on that. Let's consider this example. This is a question that is a part of some examination, and it related to the inductor and resistance LR circuits. So let's read it. You can pause and answer and then check the solution. It says an inductor of inductance. So inductance is known to us in millihenry. Resistances are 4 ohm and 2 ohm. They are known to us. They are connected to a battery. Battery is of 12 volt. That's also known to us. Internal resistance of the battery is negligible. Yes. Switch is closed at t equal to 0. So you are closing this switch at t equal to 0. That's the point, right? And the potential drop across the inductor as a function of time we need to find. So we need to find how the potential drop across this goes. Now this seems complicated, a little bit challenging, but you'll find you can answer just by looking in the options or otherwise. So it will depend how much you know about this inductor properly. So let's talk about this. This is a battery, right? 12 volt battery, or you can call it E. From here you will find some current will be going through. Let's say that current is I, and some current will be passing through this, so you will be writing I1. Another current will pass through this, you can write it as I2. Right, you can solve for I1 and I2. You can use this loop equation, and you can use this bigger loop equation, isn't it? So let me solve it properly. Then I will talk about how you can answer quickly as well. So let's simplify this I1. So for I1, you will be writing the loop equation for this inner loop or this small loop. So is it going to be equal to I1 R1? Yes. This potential drop is equal to E, or minus E is equal to 0. That's what the Kirchhoff equation for the small loop is, or you can say left loop is. So from here you will find what is the value of I1 is. I1 is the current that is a constant. It is E divided by R1. What is E? E is the EMF of the battery, or the battery that is given to you. That's 12 volt. And what is resistance R1? That's 4. That makes it 3 ampere. That means the current through this resistance is not a variable. It's a constant. It's a function of not time. It is simply a constant number. Now let's talk about this I2. So you can write the equation for bigger loop of this Kirchhoff. So if you write equation for the bigger loop, you are going to get some sort of like L di by dt, that means di2 by dt plus I2 R2 minus E is equal to 0. This is the equation. Now this is the standard equation that we have already solved, right? So we know what the solution this carries, so you can use directly that solution. Whenever this kind of equation comes in, you just remember the LR circuit, the same equation we draw there. So from here the current I2 came out to be the potential, that is E divided by resistance, that is R2, and it goes like 1 minus e raised to power minus R, which is R2 T upon L. So this will be a solution for the I2. So you can write the solution for I2 directly. So you got to know I1, which is constant. I2 can be calculated using this, where L, R2, T and all that number has to be used. Now this is a function of time, but it's not asking about this I2, it's asking about the potential difference across the inductor. So what is the potential difference across inductor? If you are looking for this across inductor, so we need to know what is the potential difference across inductor is. This is the potential drop across inductor, isn't it? So you will find it is going to be V is equal to L di2 by dt, di2 by dt. And you have already written this I2 as a function of time, so differentiating it won't be big deal. So it's going to be L di2 by dt. Let me differentiate this with related to time. So this is going to be E upon R2. That's going to be constant, which can be taken common. This is 1, differentiation of 1 will become 0. E raised to power something will have a same differentiation, so that will become same differentiation. Then you know the chain rule. As per the chain rule, whatever this has it has to be further differentiated. So R2 by L with a minus sign will come extra. So now the expression for this potential across inductor is going to be equal to, now this is a 0, this minus and this minus becomes plus, L and L getting cancelled out, R2 and R2 getting cancelled out. It's simply leaving it as E and E raised to power minus R2T by L. So that is the expression. Now I haven't put the values. You can put the value to get answer out of the 4 options. So let us place the value. E is 12, so you can write it as a 12, or minus R2 has been given as a 2, and T divided by L is 400 millihenry. You need to write in a Henry term, so 0.4 Henry. Now if you can simplify this, this is going to 20 by 4, that's basically 5, so your answer will be V is equal to 12 e raised to power minus 5t. These many volt will be potential difference across inductor at any instant of time. So this is how you can solve LR circuit, and now you can check which option is matching. So 12, this is 6 e raised to power minus 5t, that's not correct. This is something else, not correct. This is something else, not correct. This is the correct option. Make sense? So this is how you can find your correct answer by solving this. How you could have answered this very easily, very simply. You say that when time equal to 0, how much the current will be passing through? 0. That means we find just after the switch is closed, this inductor does not allow any current to pass through. That means it creates same potential difference as that of the battery, because current is not there, so this will have no potential difference. Potential difference across these 2 points will be same as that of the battery. So that means when we substitute t equal to 0 in the expression, our answer should come as a EMF of the battery, that is 12. So at t equal to 0, answer should be 12. You place t equal to 0, that will give you 6. So you can say this cannot be your answer. Put t equal to 0, this is 0 plus, so this is not valid for 0 plus, so that's also not an answer. Put t equal to 0 plus, so if you place a 0, so that will become 0, that's also not correct answer. Put t equal to 0 plus, you will find this is 12 volt, that's what we are expecting. Okay. Moreover, you can also think of when the time is too high, then it will become just a wire, so it will have a 0 potential difference. That means t tending to infinite will give you a 0. Though you have already found that answer, but this can further check and give you confidence that your answer is correct. Okay, so that's LR circuit question. Now let's consider one important point that is called magnetic energy density. You have gone through electrostatic energy density. In that, we used to say if there is an electric field in this space, then because of this electric field, there is going to be energy per unit volume, and that energy per unit volume used to be half epsilon naught E square, if you remember. And you can write it as a du upon dv. Then you can multiply this dv and then go for the integration and find the energy stored in the space. Point is, where there is electric field in the space, there is energy. That energy called electrostatic energy. Exactly in the same manner, where there is a magnetic field, there is a magnetic field in the space, there is also energy stored in that space. So if B magnetic field is existing in any space, let's say this is a magnetic field. Magnetic field can be uniform or non-uniform, that's a different issue. But if this magnetic field is existing, and because of this magnetic field, you'll find this space will carry energy with it. So what is the energy density? That energy density is known as magnetic energy density. And we will write this magnetic energy density, that is magnetic energy rather. We will write it as a magnetic energy per unit volume. Magnetic energy per unit volume. That's called magnetic energy density. Now you can write it as du upon dv. V for volume. So differential energy and differential volume, that's called density, which we can also write it as a U, simply small u. Small u will let us know what is the magnetic energy density is. Right? Symbol is very similar. If both are involved, so we will write as a BV for magnetic, E for electric. But yes, here we are writing this. This comes out to be exactly similar formula, at least in appearance. It's a half mu naught B square. So 1 by 2 mu naught into B square. That is the energy density in any space if there is a magnetic field is existing, right? And if you need to find the energy total, so how we can get the magnetic energy? We can use this formula. Magnetic energy stored in any space, we can write it as a du is equal to d big U, total energy, is equal to energy density, which is 1 by twice mu naught into B square dv. dv here is a volume, differential volume. What further next to be done? You know that. Further, you need to integrate it. You need to integrate this. You need to integrate over the volume. For that sake, you need to calculate the magnetic field as a function of space and multiply this volume. You will get the total expression for energy. So that becomes the formula for calculating magnetic energy stored in any space. Now, we will be using this. So you can use whenever the magnetic field is given to you, you can integrate, find your answer. Now it will be easier for us to get those answers in which magnetic field is uniform, so that you can take this entire step outside. You simply multiply this volume. So if there is a uniform magnetic field, you simply multiply this with the volume you are concerning about. You will get the total energy stored. Now further, we will move ahead. That means we will be looking for such devices which can have magnetic field stored in them. If any device stores the magnetic field, that means if any device stores the current, then you will find that will have energy itself, right? Inductor is such a device. What inductor does? Inductor has a current. Because of that current, there is a magnetic field. Since there is a magnetic field, there is going to be energy in that inductor, and that energy will be in form of magnetic field. Hence, we will be learning about energy stored in an inductor in a very similar fashion we understood energy stored in a capacitor. So capacitor and inductor, they are corresponding devices. Capacitor stores energy in the form of electric field. So whenever you have a capacitor, you give a charge, you give another charge, so there's coming out field. That field is electric field in that space, so that is energy because of electric field. What inductor does, when you have let's say solenoid or maybe any coil, so there is going to be magnetic field if there is a current. This magnetic field will carry magnetic energy. So inductor carries magnetic energy or energy in the magnetic field format. Capacitor carries in electrostatic energy, that means energy in the electrostatic field format, right? And this can store energy, of course, in the form of charge. This stores energy, of course, in the form of current. Formula, you are going to get very similar formula. So let's see what the formula is. So now let's talk about energy stored in inductor. When we say inductor, you can remember better a solenoid. Solenoid is a collection of coils, a single coil you can say, and having so many loops. So that has a magnetic field inside, and that's a nice uniform magnetic field. Or any loop for that purpose. Solenoid is the simplest inductor you can think of. And let's say this is inductor. That means this is a circuit element, and this carries a current I. If this carries current I and I is changing, so it will have EMF created. What that EMF is going to be? If it is inductance is L, so EMF is L di by dt. That means this is having L di by dt EMF, and it is having this current passing through it. So you'll find we can easily write the power associated with inductor. So how much is the power associated with inductor? Can we say this power is going to be a instantaneous current and the voltage, because we know power is V into I. V is the voltage that it has, I is the current. Here voltage and EMF, they are similar, so this can be written as E into I. And E is L di by dt, so it becomes L di by dt into I itself. That's a power. We also know this power is basically energy per unit time. So you can write the stored energy per unit time, du by dt. You can combine these two. If you combine these two, you are going to get as a du, the stored energy divided by time is equal to Li di by dt. Now you can say this dt is getting cancelled out, so you'll find, let me write over here, du is equal to this Li di, that's all, right? So this will become a differential equation. Next point would be to integrate it. You can start from I1 current to I2 current. Let's say we are starting from zero current, so there's a zero current, zero energy, and U energy when I current. So you'll find it is going to be equal to U on the left hand side. That's energy stored in an inductor, and this L is a constant, you can take it outside, and it becomes I di. Integrate from 0 to I, it's like x dx, that's all. So it becomes L I square by 2, so half Li square. So that becomes the formula. Stored energy in any inductor is half inductance I square. That means square of the current. Now you can read it, what it says. It says whenever there is I current through an inductor, it will have energy half Li square. The moment the current becomes zero, energy becomes zero. Current will be maximum at a steady state condition. Hence, you will find energy will be maximum at a steady state condition. That means after a long time, you will find inductor will have a maximum energy in it, right? And this can also be calculated by using the formula of energy density that we have talked about. So from here, we can have one more conclusion, that inductor is basically a device that stores energy in the form of magnetic field. So we can say inductor is a device that stores energy. In which form? In the form of current, or in magnetic field form, or in current form. So it stores energy in the form of current, which produces magnetic field. Hence, in the space there is a magnetic field, and in that space, if we multiply this volume or do integration, you'll find this energy stored, and this is the formula which will give you directly the energy stored in any inductor at any instant. You need to write the current at that instant, and L will be given to you either, or you can calculate L. We have talked about how to calculate L, but most likely in examinations you will be given L value. You need to find the instantaneous current. That instant you are finding the energy, and that will become energy. You can compare this is very similar to half CV square or Q square by 2C, very similar to that. So the concept of inductor is very parallel to that of the capacitor. What capacitor does in electrostatic, exactly similar thing it does in magnetism. Okay, so this is about energy stored and magnetic energy density that you need to keep in mind. So in this video we will have only up to this point, and with these points these concepts related to electromagnetic induction are being covered, and this will carry into also in the next chapter, that is alternating current or ACs. ACs will be very closely linked to this magnetism and electrostatic and this electromagnetism altogether, and inductor as well. So from next video onwards, we will have a new chapter which is alternating currents, or we can call them in short as ACs. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you everyone. Have a great day.